Hello everyone. Hope you are safe at home. Today, as the 16th chapter, the 16th group is over. Now we will move on to the 17th group. Right. So 17th group, they are halogens. They are called as halogens. That is fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, and astatine. So it is fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, and astatine. And astatine being radioactive, we will talk about fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, etc. So these are called as halogen. The family is called as halogen family. You are familiar with all these elements, right? So these are called as halogens. Now coming to the occurrence, fluorine and chlorine occur to a greater extent than bromine and iodine. Fluorine and chlorine are mainly gases, whereas bromine is a liquid, and iodine is a solid. Now as far as occurrence, if you talk about occurrence, fluorine is seen mainly in calcium fluoride, which is called as fluorospar. So fluorine is mainly seen in calcium fluoride, it is called as fluorospar, and also by a little amount of sodium Na3Al(F6), which is called as cryolite. So fluorine is seen in all these compounds like calcium fluoride, then Na3Al(F6), which is called as cryolite. Again, apatite, fluoroapatite. Fluorine is seen in fluoroapatite. Fluoroapatite means it is a mixture of calcium phosphate, that is Ca3PO4 twice dot CaF2. This is called as fluoroapatite. So fluorine is seen in all these compounds in little amounts. Okay, that is calcium fluoride, then sodium aluminum fluoride, that is cryolite, and apatite, that is a fluoroapatite, that is a mixture of calcium phosphate dot calcium fluoride. Right. Now as far as chlorine and bromine and iodine is concerned, all these three are concerned, you know that when you consider chlorine, bromine and iodine, the seawater contains this chlorine, bromine and iodide ions. See, seawater contains the chloride, bromide and the iodide ions of sodium, potassium, calcium and magnesium abundantly. That means in seawater, the chloride ions, the bromide ions and the iodide ions are seen with respect to sodium, potassium, calcium and magnesium ions. Okay, so there in these cases, these chlorides, bromides and iodides can be seen, whereas fluorides in these compounds, fluorides can be seen. Okay, so then normally seawater contains what? Seawater contains NaCl, isn't it? NaCl. When NaCl beds are dried up, we will get rocks of NaCl. NaCl, which is called as, NaCl is also called as what? Rock salt, isn't it? It is also called as rock salt. Okay, so these are the occurrence, mainly occurrence of this halogen family or the halogen elements. Also in carnallite, these chlorides, bromides, etc. can be seen. Okay. So these are some of the occurrence of these elements of group 17, that is halogen family. Okay. So just go through it, and now we will pass on to the properties. Okay. From here we have to start. Group 7 properties, and what are the group 7 elements? Fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine and astatine being radioactive. Now coming to the physical, the properties or the top 10 trends in properties. First we talk about the electronic configuration. What is the electronic configuration? Being halogen, that is in the 17th group, what is its general electronic configuration? Ns2 Np5, because 5 plus 2 is 7, isn't it? So it is 2, 8, 7. So NS2 NP5. So this is the general electronic configuration of this halogen elements. S is filled one. Now the next is atomic or ionic radii, isn't it? Atomic or ionic radii. You know, this fluorine comes in the periodic table before the noble gas elements, isn't it? So this is the 17th group. So if you talk about periods, in each period, the halogen atom is in the last, that is 17th group. Noble gas, we leave it that way. Okay, that is separate entity. So 17th group, all these elements, across a period, it has got a very small size, isn't it? Very small size, isn't it? The size decreases from left to right in a periodic table, isn't it? Left to right in a periodic table, the atomic size decreases. Due to what? Due to the effective nuclear charge increasing, isn't it? Z effective, increases of Z effective, the atomic size or the atomic radii decreases. So in a non-metals or in this p block elements, which is having the smallest radii, these halogens are having the smallest radii. But when you talk about from top to bottom in a PT, periodic table, what happens from top to bottom as the size increases? That is general thing, means the shells are increasing. So that's the reason why the atomic and the ionic radii increases. Okay. So that is the second property, that is about atomic and the ionic radii. Understood? Now coming to the third property, the third trend, that is electronic configuration, atomic radii, and next is ionization enthalpy or ionization potential. What about ionization potential? You know, if you are talking about halogens from fluorine to iodine across a period, what happens? Since the size is decreasing, since the size is decreasing, what about IP? IP is increasing, isn't it? Inversely proportional. Because when the size increases, what is IP? What is ionization potential? The energy required to remove the most loosely bounded electron from a gaseous neutral atom, isn't it? So when the size is decreasing, the IP definitely increases because it is very difficult to pull out an electron from a small gaseous atom or a small neutral atom, isn't it? So definitely the IP increases, but one coming from top to bottom in a period, as the size increases. Why size increases? The shell increases. Because of that reason, the IP decreases from top to bottom. Okay, so that is the trend of IP decreases from fluorine to iodine. You can write like that. Okay. Now next comes the electronic configuration, atomic radii, ionization potential. Now comes the electron gain enthalpy. Oxygen also we have studied the same trend. What is electron gain enthalpy? How will you define it? The energy required to accept an electron, isn't it? An electron to form an anion. So how much energy is required? That is called as the electron gain enthalpy, which you will note it as Eg, like this, thermodynamics. Okay. So what about electron gain enthalpy? You know, all the halide ions will very well become the respective anions like fluoride ion, chloride ion, bromide ion, etc. Isn't it? So electron gain enthalpy, the halogens have the highest negative electron gain enthalpy. Very important. You see, halogens have got the highest, isn't it? Highest negative electron gain enthalpy. See, very important. Because only one electron is less to complete the octet. So it has got a very high tendency to accept that electron to form the octet. That is why these halogens has got the highest negative electron gain enthalpy. So if that is the logic, you will say this fluorine has got the highest electron gain enthalpy than chlorine, then bromine, iodine, isn't it? That is a trend. Because of the logic that halogen highest negative electron gain enthalpy, as the size increases, the electron gain enthalpy also decreases. But here there is some confusion, or here there is some exceptions in the electron gain enthalpy. See, if you if you see fluorine and chlorine, as the logic goes on, it says that the electron gain enthalpy of the fluorine is greater than that of the chlorine, isn't it? The fluorine, if I write like thermodynamically, if I write the delta H Eg of fluorine must be greater than delta H Eg of chlorine. Thermodynamically, if I write, I can write like this. Now, but there is an exception in this electron gain enthalpy. That is, when we speak about fluorine and chlorine, in between fluorine and chlorine is having more negative electron gain enthalpy than fluorine. It's a board exam question. Why? Chlorine has got more electron gain enthalpy than fluorine. What is the meaning of that? Which means that chlorine has got a higher tendency to accept an electron and forms the chloride ion rather than fluorine to form a fluoride ion. Got it? So what is the reason behind it? The reason is, see, you know, all the elements in each group, the first element is having so many anomalous behavior, of which one of the property is of small size. So when compared to all other elements in the groups, the first element in all these groups, when comparison is made, fluorine is having the smallest size. Why? Because from left to right in a periodic table, the size decreases. So the first element, like when you come across with boron, isn't it? Boron, then carbon, then oxygen. Boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. So when you compare these elements, fluorine is having a very small size. And due to this anomalous behavior of having a very small size, what happens is, see, if this fluorine is there and here it is a chlorine. Okay, now what happens if an electron is coming here? That is electron gain enthalpy, isn't it? The acceptance of an electron to form this minus ions. What happens is, see, when electron is coming, since this is very, very small, there is a repulsion between, listen, that's a valid point, the repulsion between the coming electron and the valence electrons. Got it? The same logic we applied in oxygen also. Why? Because the p orbitals of this fluorine, which is having the valence electrons, will have a greater electron-electron repulsion than when the electrons are coming into a bigger size chlorine. So that is why the electron, that is a small exception, the electron gain enthalpy of chlorine is more than the negative enthalpy which you are speaking about. The negative electron gain enthalpy is more than fluorine. Got it? But from chlorine to bromine iodine, it decreases. The negative value goes on decreasing. So there is an exception for this electron gain enthalpy. So please be noted. Okay. Right. Then we will pass on to the last trend, that is electronegativity. What is it? Electronegativity. What is electronegativity? You know, the tendency of an atom to attract a pair of electrons, a shared pair of electrons to itself. So that normal case, the normal trend follows, that is from fluorine to iodine, the electronegativity decreases. In all the groups it is same as the size. Why? In almost all these trends, when we talk about each trend, the logical reasoning or the point is same. But in some cases there are exceptions, that's all. Okay. So fluorine to iodine decreases due to the increase in the size. So we know the most electronegative element in the periodic table. When you cover whole periodic table, who is the most electronegative element? Fluorine is the most electronegative element. Okay. So these are the general trends which follows in the group 17. Okay, this is easy, right? Now we will go on to the physical properties. You know, what are the physical properties of fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine? As I said, fluorine and chlorine are gases, isn't it? Fluorine and chlorine are gases. And you know bromine is a liquid. and iodine is a solid. Astatine we don't talk about because it is a half radioactive. Okay. Now, coming to this fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, all these halogens are a particular property. All these halogens are colored in nature. Colored means when the outer electrons get excited and combats, emission spectra, when combats, radiations are formed. And that radiations will fall under the visible region. That is why we can see, right? That is why it is able to see us, visible. What is the wavelength? 400 nanometer ranging from 750 nanometer, not 760, range. That is approx 750 nanometer. So it comes under visible region. That is why all the halogens are colored. Isn't it? You are doing this flame test for chlorine, in fact. And what is the color of the chlorine gas you are getting? A greenish gas, isn't it? A greenish yellow gas. So fluorine is having a greenish color. Okay, fluorine is having a greenish color. Fluorine, green. Then, what about chlorine? Chlorine is yellowish green, isn't it? Yellowish green. Then, bromine is red, somewhat red, and iodine is violet. So, in fact, all the halogens are what? Colored. You know the chemistry of the flame test. So, I am not repeating it. So, this is the colored thing. Okay. So, this is the physical property of this halogens. Correct? Okay. Then we will pass on to the chemical properties. So, physical property, just you note it down. Gases, liquid and solid, and they are colored. That's all. Okay. So, just read that. Now, we will come to the chemical properties. And in chemical properties, you know, halogens are highly reactive in nature, isn't it? Halogens are highly reactive in nature. That means fluorine and chlorine, almost all, these are soluble in water, whereas bromine and iodine are sparingly soluble, which I say semi-soluble, or I can say insoluble to a certain extent. Okay, insoluble in water. Fluorine and chlorine readily reacts with water also. That is why the reactivity of halogens are very, very high when compared to the other elements. Okay. So reactive, why it is more reactive? Because its electron gain enthalpy is very, very highly negative. Which means in order to form an octet configuration, it needs only one electron. So that is why it is highly reactive. And one more trend when you talk about this halogen family is, see, in this halogen family, we will come to see a gradation in property. What is the gradation? Gradation means similarity in property. When we studied about the group 1 and group 2, alkali and alkaline earth metals, when you study that, there also the group elements are having a gradation in property. Like melting point, boiling point, there is not so much exceptions are there. So, like the group 1 and group 2 elements, these group 7 elements are also having the similarities in the properties within the elements. So, that is meant by gradation in property of these elements. Okay, just like that. Now we are coming back about the, it reacts readily with water. Its reactivity is very, very high. Now, when you talk about reactivity of fluorine, it is very, very important to know that regarding the bond dissociation enthalpy. What is it? Bond dissociation enthalpy. Now, what do you mean by bond dissociation enthalpy? That means the energy required to break the bond. For example, fluorine-fluorine bond. Okay. Now, bond dissociation enthalpy, if you talk about fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine, as the size increases from top to bottom, the bond between, or the radius between, the size increases, the radius between the nucleus and the valence shell increases because of the size increases. You can easily dissociate the bond, isn't it? So, logically, you can say from top to bottom, the bond dissociation enthalpy decreases. That is why iodine can easily dissociate rather than bromine, then chlorine and fluorine. So, in that logic, we can say that the fluorine has got the highest bond dissociation enthalpy than chlorine, isn't it? Which is again greater than fluorine, chlorine, bromine, bromine, which is again greater than iodine, iodine, isn't it? That is a trend. Okay. But here also there is some exception in the bond dissociation enthalpy. In the same way as the enthalpy, the electron gain enthalpy, the same thing, the same logic is applied. In the case the chlorine has got a more electron gain enthalpy than fluorine, the bond dissociation enthalpy of chlorine is greater than that of fluorine. Which means what? Which means the fluorine-fluorine bond has less bond dissociation enthalpy than chlorine-chlorine bond. Which means the fluorine-fluorine bond can be easily broken than the chlorine-chlorine bond. But how? Because this bond is, we think this bond is stronger than this, and as the size increases, we can break the bond easily. The point is, see, in all cases for fluorine, in the board exam also I am telling you a tip that whenever a question comes for fluorine, the exception is mainly because of the two reasons. One is the small size and second is the less dissociation enthalpy. That is also due to small size. So whenever a question comes, if you are not getting it properly, just to write the small size of the fluorine. Okay, and you can write the 4 anomalous behavior. Okay, just one thing will get it right. So just study the peculiar behavior of the fluorine. Very, very important. Because of this very, very small size, it has got an anomalous behavior that all the trends will go, some, not all, but some trends will go ulta. Okay, in opposite direction. So that is why chlorine-chlorine bond cannot be broken while fluorine-fluorine can bond break easily. Why? Why? Because listen, this small size of this chlorine, due to the small size of the chlorine, what happens? When this fluorine-fluorine comes to form a fluorine molecule, the electrons in the outer electron gets repulsion. Due to the electronic repulsion, what happens? If the fluorine-fluorine has to come like this and get a strong bond, what happens? Due to the electronic repulsion, it will pull back, isn't it? It will pull back. Bond between this fluorine-fluorine will become weaker. Got it? Due to the repulsion between the valence electrons of the fluorine. Now, why that repulsion comes? Why that repulsion comes? The repulsion comes because of the small size. So, everything is related to the fluorine with the small size. Keep in mind. Okay. So, due to that, it will have a bond will become looser. That is why it can easily dissociate. So, that is the point. So, bond dissociation enthalpy of chlorine-chlorine is greater than fluorine-fluorine bond. Got it? So, that is again an important point. Now, we will come to the chemical properties of oxidation state. Oxidation. The same trends we are moving on with the halogen family also. We have studied the oxidation state of oxygen also, isn't it? Nitrogen also. So, same thing, oxidation state. Oxidation state. Now, if we discuss this oxidation state, you know halogen family, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. Since it is less for us octet, the oxidation state is mainly -1. -1 state. The common oxidation state is -1. But, and it is right in the case of fluorine also. Fluorine mainly -1 is there. Because it is the most electron negative element. That is why it is the oxidation state is -1. Correct? But when coming to bromine, iodine and chlorine, the oxidation state varies from +1 to +7. That means in between, that is if I write precisely, +1, +3, +5 and +7. So all chlorine, bromine, iodine shows what? Shows the oxidation state of +1, +3, +5 and +7. Now I will show you how this oxidation takes place or how this oxidation has this values, that is +1, +3, +5 and +7. You know, in halogens, any halogens except fluorine, because fluorine is always an exceptional case due to the small size and all. So other than halogens, I mean fluorine, all other halogens, okay, all other halogens in the ground state. What do you mean ground state? Because in the stable state, it is not getting excited. In the ground state, that is called, you call it as ground state, isn't it? Ground state. It has got a configuration of NS2, NP5, isn't it? NS2, NP5, and one more thing is fluorine has got no d orbitals. Being the first element in the group, fluorine, the absence of d orbitals. The same thing we studied in oxygen, absence of d orbital, nitrogen. That is why its covalency is reduced to 4, whereas all other compounds, the covalency can be expanded to 6 due to the availability of d orbitals. Okay, so we are accepting the fluorine. Now coming to halogens in the ground state, you know S is 1 and P is 3, isn't it? Px, Py, Pz, and D is 5. Okay, so this is Nd. Okay. Now what happens, you know, the general configuration is NS2, NP5, Hund's rule, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got it? Now this one, there is only one electron, isn't it? This one accounts for the -1 or the +1 oxidation state. Which means what? This -1, it can either give out getting the +1 oxidation state, or one electron will accept it and form the full configuration. So both, what it will be? It will be one electron. So if it is giving out, it is +1. If it is accepting, it is -1. Correct? So this is the ground state thing. That is, it can have -1 as well as +1. That is first one oxidation state. Now what happens, you see, in the excited state, it can happen like this. See, in the excited state, this S will remain like this, and what happens is, you see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you have this configuration, isn't it? Now what happens is, this one electron will jump. By getting energy, it can jump to the d orbital, the vacant d orbital. See, it can jump into this vacant d orbitals. Thereby, how many electrons? 1, 2, 3. So this accounts for the +3 oxidation state. Correct? Okay. Then next, one more thing, or two more things. That is, again you can have the excitation of P to D. See, this remains as such. What happens? This electron can jump into this electron. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one, here it is there, right? Now this electron can jump into this one. See? So how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this accounts for the +5 oxidation state. Correct? Are you getting it? Yes. Now, again an excited state, you know, now you know the thing, how it goes. NS there is 2, but it will be 1, and that electron is get excited to like this. So here there is 1. So this electron is getting excited to the next d orbital. So how much? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this accounts for the +7 oxidation state. So this is how the oxidation state varies. See, by the excitation of these electrons. Why? It is simply because they are having vacant d orbitals. That is why the exceptions accept the fluorine. So this is all about the oxidation states. Okay, so there can be -1, +1, +3, +5 and +7 oxidation state. Clear? Simple. Okay. Now we will see more about the oxidation state. Or we will talk about something more in detail about the oxidation states. Okay. Now, if the fluorine is considered the oxidation state, if you are speaking about the fluorine, you can have two types of oxidation state, isn't it? That is, two types of oxidation state for fluorine. Normally, Normally, fluorine is only having one, that is -1, as we have already told you. But the case of bromine, then chlorine and iodine, the oxidation state varies from +1 to +7, that you have seen. Okay. Now, this higher oxidation state, higher oxidation means what? The +3, +5 and +7. Normally, this oxidation state will happen with halogens like fluorine. Fluorine is not there, right? The +3, +5, +7 is only shown by bromine, chlorine and iodine. So, these will have reaction with the fluorine, which is very small, and form interhalogen compound. What do you mean interhalogen compound? Two halogens, in between two halogens, a bond is formed. For example, BRF3. See? Then ClF3, ClF, IF, IF7, etc. So these are called as interhalogen compounds. So what I want to say is, in interhalogen compounds, it will show the higher oxidation state. And also in oxides and oxo acids. See, in the three cases, whereas in the case of fluorine or in the case of oxides, chlorine oxide, see, Cl2O7, I2O5, see, higher oxidation states are there, right? So, in higher oxidation states are seen mainly with the small halogen, the smallest halogen fluorine, as well as oxides and oxo acids. Okay, so that is about the higher oxidation state. But still, since +4 and +6 are also shown by these compounds, see how many oxidation states they are showing? +4 and +6 are also shown by these compounds. But you need not worry about that, you don't have to study that. Okay, so this is something about the oxidation state. Correct? And you know, fluorine is very, very reactive, and it the most electronegative element in the whole group, and thereby it is having only, it shows only and only -1 oxidation state. Pakka. It shows only -1 oxidation state. It is very, very reactive, and there is an absence of d orbital, so it won't go higher than 1 because there is no d orbitals available. So the maximum is 1. Okay. Now we will see a very, very important point for fluorine is, or even halogens as we say generally, is the oxidizing nature. You know, if you remember the standard electrode potential, you studied electrochemistry, you know fluorine is the strongest oxidizing agent, having an E0 value of +4.21 or like that, +4.21 or 3 like that. It is having the highest oxidation potential. So that we will discuss here. It's very, very important. Just listen carefully. That is the oxidizing nature of these halogens, especially fluorines. Fluorine. Okay. Now, why this oxidizing nature happens is the tendency, the great tendency to accept the electron. That is having the that gives the higher oxidizing ability. That is the acceptance of the one electron to form the minus ion. Isn't it? That means oxidizing agent means what? It is itself get reduced. Reduced means accepting electron. So the great accepting tendency of these electrons to form the fluoride ion or chloride ion makes these halogens a strong oxidizing property or a strong oxidizing character. Got it? So since it has got a great tendency for accepting electrons, it is having a great oxidizing property. Okay, that means it can oxidize even the smaller, that means the corresponding halides. This fluorine, we know fluorine is the very strong oxidizing agent. Let me tell you, very strong oxidizing agent. If you refer the standard electrode potential also, you can see very strong oxidizing agent. This fluorine can oxidize the lower halogens, even solutions as well as in solid state. See, that's a peculiarity of fluorine. Very, very anomalous behavior. That means, for example, I can say fluorine react with the other halogens means what? chlorine, bromine, etc. That is Cl minus to give Cl2 plus F minus. See, F getting F minus, acceptance of electrons. Isn't it? Acceptance means electron is accepting. That is why this is called as an oxidizing agent. That is itself getting reduced. This it is getting oxidized. Oxidized means -1 to 0, increasing. That is oxidation. So chlorine is being oxidized. Who is oxidizing? Fluorine is oxidizing. So itself getting reduced 0 to -1. See this reduction. So then, or if you say X minus, we can generally say X minus. X minus, X is what? X is chlorine, bromine and iodine. It can be all the three. You got it? In the same way, as we talk about fluorine, in the same way, chlorine also react with X minus. Chlorine, if you talk about chlorine, chlorine will oxidize bromine and iodine. Isn't it? Bromine and iodine. So X is what? X is bromine and iodine. See? Because fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, the lower ones. Chlorine, the lower ones are what? Bromine and iodine. So it will form what? That is, if you take X2, you can write simply X2 plus Cl minus. Correct? In the same way, you can write bromine. Isn't it? Bromine plus I minus, because there is no lower one. I minus is the last one. So I minus will give you X2, or I can say I2 plus Br minus. So this shows that, keep in mind, this reaction shows that they are very, very good oxidizing agent. So whenever you talk about an oxidizing agent, you can say these halogens are very good oxidizing agent. It can oxidize the lower halides. That is the beauty. It can oxidize the lower halides. Okay. Then again one more important point. So this is the oxidizing nature. The value point is the ready acceptance of one electron makes this very good oxidizing agent. So you have to note down the value point. That is, the readily acceptance of this one electron will make the halogens a very good oxidizing agent. Okay. Now, next also very, very important. See, you know, I have already talked to you that the standard reduction potential can relate to the oxidizing property, or the oxidizing property or the oxidizing ability. I will say the oxidizing ability means the ability to oxidize. The oxidizing ability depends upon the standard electrode potential, that is standard reduction potential. When we talk about standard reduction potential. Now, how will you calculate the standard reduction potential? Larger the value of standard electrode potential, listen carefully, larger the value of standard electrode potential, greater will be the oxidizing power or oxidizing ability. Now I will tell you how to calculate the standard reduction potential. Okay, now it is standard electrode potential or reduction. You know the reference, isn't it? The standard electrode potential is the standard reduction potential. This can be found out by a combination of three things. One is delta bond dissociation enthalpy. It is the addition of bond dissociation enthalpy plus enthalpy electron gain enthalpy plus delta H hydration. Very, very important. See, very, very important. You can find out the standard electrode potential or the E0 value of F minus F or X minus. For general category, you can write F minus H2. You can write. It is by adding three things. One is by adding the enthalpy, bond dissociation enthalpy plus enthalpy, electron gain enthalpy and hydration enthalpy. Correct? You know hydration enthalpy, right? The solvent molecules. Delta H solvation means solvent molecules. If it is water, you call it as hydration. That means, what is the funda in that? Smaller the ion, greater is the hydration. Which means, if the ion is small, what happens? A larger number of water molecules will be surrounded by that. That is, higher amount of hydration will be taking place and large amount of hydration energy is liberated. Negative value. Exothermic reaction. Okay, so when these three put together, who is getting a higher value? That is higher oxidizing agent. So definitely who will be getting the higher value? Fluorine is getting the higher value, that is plus 4 point something. So according to this formula, you calculate the standard electrode potential. So keep in mind how you calculate the oxidizing ability. Who is having the most oxidizing ability? For example, if I say X2, it dissociates half X2, fluorine or chlorine. You need only half delta H bond dissociation, isn't it? For one molecule, you need one bond dissociation. For half a molecule, you will get X. Okay, so X gas. Okay, this is also gas. Now what you have to do? You have the delta H, then dissociation enthalpy, then you comes the delta H electron gain enthalpy. So it will form X minus, isn't it? And you have delta H hydration. So it will be X minus aqueous. So when all these energies put together, the value, the most high value is coming, that will be what? That will be a good oxidizing or the best oxidizing agent, is nothing but fluorine when compared to the halogens. Fluorine, so we say that fluorine is a very, very good oxidizing agent. So now you can connect this with the standard electrode potential chart you studied in electrochemistry. Okay, go through it. So this is about the oxidizing ability. Now one more oxidizing ability. First one is what? The readily acceptance of the electrons makes this ability, makes this higher oxidizing agent. Here what is the point? High standard electrode potential value makes the powerful oxidizing agent. And one more thing, the ability to react with water, which shows that fluorine or halogen is highly oxidizing agent. So if a question comes like, give a reaction to prove that halogens are highly oxidizing in nature. That is the reaction now we are going to talk about. Other two are the conditions. Why a good oxidizing ability is there. Now we talk about what is the reaction, or taking a reaction into an example, we will show that this is a highly oxidizing agent. Okay, that means it oxidizes some compounds. Okay, what are they? That is, it readily, with reaction with water. The reaction with water, you can show that the halogens are, see, the halogens are strong oxidizing agents. See, strong oxidizing agents. The reaction with water. Okay, so the reaction with water proves that it is a strong oxidizing agent. For example, fluorine. If you take fluorine plus water. See, fluorine plus water will give you HF plus O2. See, oxidizing agent means what? This is oxidizing, removal of hydrogen. Itself getting reduced, addition of hydrogen. That is why always I tell you, whenever all are based on connectivity. As I always say, see this, just you can refer to that. Why it is say as an oxidizing agent? Because it oxidizes this. Why this is oxidation? Removal of hydrogen. Again, oxidizing agent getting itself reduced. That is here addition of hydrogen. So everything you can connect it. But you have that correct logic in your mind. Then you can connect it. That is why you have to follow the general trends of that. So if you have the concept, you can apply to everything. But exceptions are there, then you have to deal it properly. Now, so this is fluorine. Now coming to chlorine. Okay, chlorine react with water. What it will form? It will form HX plus HOCl. See, when it is chlorine or bromine, fluorine, it gives HF and O2. But bromine and chlorine reacts with water to form HX, that is hypohalic acid. Halic. And this is hypohalous acid. For example, if it is chlorine plus water, it will give HCl plus HOCl. HOCl means hypochlorous acid. hypobromous acid, like that. That is chlorine plus HOCl. X will be chlorine, bromine, correct. So fluorine only halic acid, bromine and chlorine halic as well as hypohalous acid. Clear? Now iodine, it is little bit different. See, iodine acidic medium. I told you to have an equation diary. So please remember, you have to get all these equations into that, right? Okay. Now iodine, especially I minus, iodide ion. Iodide ion oxidizes in acidic media. Sorry, acidic media means H plus. Acidic media to form I2. See, I2 plus water. So this is a different equation when compared to fluorine and chlorine and bromine. Iodide means only in acidic medium. What happens? This happens. Okay. So that is, this is 0 and this is minus 1. So it is increasing. So it is oxidizing. Correct. So iodine is, only iodine is little bit different from the other three. So these 3 or 4 things comes under the oxidation state. The chemical properties which deal with the oxidation state. Is it clear? Once again I will tell you to make it more comfortable. That is, mainly the halogens are having minus 1 oxidation state. But that is fluorine. When bromine, chlorine, iodine comes, they can have oxidation state ranging from minus 1, plus 1, plus 3, plus 5 and plus 7. That I have shown that, how it is getting. Then you talk about higher oxides or oxides of bromide, chloride and iodide. The higher oxidation state of these oxides are seen in fluorine as well as oxides and oxoacids. And higher oxidation states are more stable than the lower oxidation state. And you know, fluorine being very reactive element, being the most electronegative element in the periodic table, it can have only one oxidation state, that is minus 1. Next comes the oxidizing ability. That is, the readily acceptance of the electrons was one of the property being an oxidizing agent. Second is the standard reduction potential. And third, an example of the reaction with water. How readily it hydrolyzes. The halogen hydrolyzes and it gets oxidized. So these are the various things in the oxidizing property. Clear? Now we will see how it reacts with hydrogen. Now we will see, before going into reaction, we will see the anomalous behavior of fluorine, which is very, very important. Just keep in mind all these points, that's all. Okay. First one is, you know, the same thing, small size, then high electronegativity, high ionization potential and absence of d orbitals. Then again, one more very important point, high E0 value. What is E0 value? Standard reduction potential, that is oxidizing power. Then low FF bond. FF bond means bond dissociation enthalpy. Then low melting and boiling point because of small size. Okay. And then low atomic radii. Low atomic radii I have already told. That means small size. So these are the anomalous behavior of fluorine. Okay, so just write it down. Small size, high En, high IP, absence of d orbital, then high standard electrode potential, then low FF bond, that is bond dissociation enthalpy is low, and low MP and BP. So these are the anomalous behavior of fluorine. Now the reactions with fluorine are almost 99% of the reactions with fluorine are exothermic in nature. Exothermic means what? It gives out a high amount of energy. Okay, and the fluorine forms only one haloacids. Fluorine forms only one haloacids, that is HF. You know, the fluorine react with this hydrogen to form the HF, isn't it? So this HF is only, this HF is a liquid, that is a peculiarity, and all other halic acids are gases, that is HCl, HBr and HI are gases, whereas HF is liquid. Why? This is also a question. Why? Due to the intensive hydrogen bonding. HF is intensively hydrogen bonded. See, HF, again HF, again HF. So intensive, due to this hydrogen bonding, this exists as a liquid, but all other exist as a gas. So these are the anomalous behavior of fluorine. Clear? Now we will see the reactions one by one. First we will see the reaction with the hydrogen. Okay. What is the reaction with the hydrogen? It is simple, that is, it reacts with hydrogen to form what? Halogens, to form HX, isn't it? It readily reacts with hydrogen to form HX, which means HF, HCl, HBr and HI. So it readily reacts with hydrogen to form the corresponding halides, isn't it? Corresponding halides. Correct? Okay. Now as I said, HF is a liquid due to the hydrogen bonding, rest all are gases. Correct? Now the reactivity decreases in the order of fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine. That is, if I say HF is highly reactive, then HCl, HBr and HI. So reactivity is in the order of like this: fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine. But when you talk about acidity, you know acidity, how it comes, which is more acidic, HF or HI? Which is more acidic, HF or HI? What is acidic? The removal of a proton. Now from these two, which proton is easily removed from which one? Is it from HI or HF? Definitely it is from HI. Why? Because the size of the iodine is greater when compared to the size of the fluorine. See, when it is a bigger one, you can break this bond and relieve hydrogen. Whereas this is very small, it will get attached to it and breakage of the bond is difficult, isn't it? So thereby the acidic character decreases and HI is a more acidic than HF. Clear? So this is about the reaction with hydrogen. Only 2 points remember. The reactivity decreases in the order of fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. The acidity increases in the order. So HI is more acidic than HF due to the small size of the HF and bigger compared to the bigger size of the HI. So as the anion size increases, the acidity also increases. Clear? Now we will see the reaction with the oxides. Okay, now we will see the reaction with the oxides or the reactivity towards oxygen. Okay, how these halogens are reactive with the oxygen. You know that the halogens are fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, isn't it? All these 4. Now coming to oxides, you know, the fluorine will form 2 oxygen fluorides. Only 2. That is OF2 and O2F2. See, the fluorine only forms 2 oxides. You call it as oxygen fluorides. That is OF2 and O2F2. Okay. Now, this fluorine, for example, these 2 oxides are mainly with respect to the fluorine. Okay. Then, when you talk about fluorides, you can also have PuF6. Have you heard of this? Plutonium fluoride. Plutonium fluoride. Okay. Now, this plutonium fluoride is a fluorinating agent. When you talk about fluorinating agent. Okay. So, that you will study later. So, just you remember, the 2 types of fluorides are there. That is OF2 and O2F2. Now coming to the oxides of chlorides and bromides and iodides. Okay, that is, see, when you talk about chlorides, bromides, it will have oxidation state ranging from +1 to +7. That is +1, +3, +5 and +7. For all these we have talked about that: chlorine, bromine and iodine. Okay. And the stability of oxides will be in the order of iodine greater than chlorine, which is greater than bromine. See, normally if you write iodine, bromine, chlorine, that is chlorine, bromine, iodine. But this is proven thermodynamically as well as kinetically. See, when you study both thermodynamically as well as kinetically, it shows that the stability of the oxide decreases in iodide oxide, then comes the chlorine oxide, and then comes the bromine oxide. Okay. Now fluorine only forms two types of oxides, that is OF2 and O2F2, isn't it? And because of the high electronegativity of fluorine and oxygen. And these two are very good fluorinating agents, which I told you. They are very good fluorinating agents. It can liberate fluorine, that is fluorinating agents. Whereas chloride, bromide, iodide, the stability of oxides, if you consider both this thermodynamically as well as kinetically, you can say the order of the oxides decreases in the order iodine, then chlorine and bromine. Clear? Now we will see some of the oxides of this chloride, bromide and iodide. Just go through it. It's not so frequently asked. So just go through it. With chlorine, different types of oxides it will form. See, one is Cl2O, okay, then ClO2, then Cl2O6 and Cl2O7. See, how many types are there? Cl2O, then ClO2, Cl2O6 and Cl2O7. And all these are very good oxidizing agent. That is a peculiarity. All the oxides, whether it is fluorine, chlorine, bromine or iodine, all the oxides are very good oxidizing agent. Okay. So this, and moreover the ClO2 is used for bleaching purposes in wood pulp or in textiles, both wood pulp, then textiles, as well as in drinking water. It is used, the ClO2 is used because of the oxidizing property. It is used in bleaching action for wood pulp, textile industry and in drinking purpose. Okay, so this is just about just to have an idea of what are the oxides you can come across with the chlorine. Now, when you talk about bromine, we just make simple notes of this. Because whenever, as such, there is no question asked like this. Just in entrance, it may be asked like how you can, which oxide is used in the preparation of carbon monoxide. Once it was asked in the entrance, that is I2O5. So like that, some questions can be asked for that. Generally in board exam, but you have to know the concept. Generally you can have that. Okay. Now bromine, it is also having Br2O. Then BrO2 and BrO3. See, only these three. Br2O, BrO2 and BrO3. And this is the least stable oxides. Okay, least stable oxides which is only present at low temperature. Just to have information, that's all. So bromine, Br oxide, BrO2 and BrO3, which is least stable at low temperatures. So now coming to iodine. Iodine forms three oxides like I2O4, I2O5 and I2O7. See, three oxides. So these three oxides, out of these three oxides, I2O5 is a very good oxidizing agent. Okay, and one of its use for I2O5 is it is used in the estimation of carbon monoxide. So just study like this, the oxides, just to have an idea of which all oxides are there. Chlorine 4 oxide, bromine 3, which is least stable in low temperature, and iodine. Out of the three, I2O5 is a very good oxidizing agent. It is also used in the estimation of carbon monoxide. Okay, so just put a note on all these oxides, that's all. Now coming to the reaction with metals. Okay, now metals, normally these halogens react with metals to form the corresponding metal halides. For example, M plus X2 giving, for example, magnesium plus bromine will give you MgBr2. The corresponding metal halides will form. Now, if you say, for example, MX metal halide, the ionic character ionic character, you know what is ionic character and covalent character? Ionic character decreases in the order of MF, which is greater than MBr, which is greater than MCl, sorry, this is Cl, which is greater than MBr, which is greater than Mi, which means that as you go from any metal for that matter, for example MgF2, MgCl2, MgBr2, MgI2, if you take, the ionic character decreases from fluorine to iodine, which means that for ionic character, for example, if a question, they will see the question won't ask like this. They will give you a compound like a NaF, which is more ionic, NaF or NaI. Like that, the question will ask. So you have to be logical enough to get the answer. That is, NaF will be more ionic than NaCl. Why? Because the ionic character decreases from fluorine to iodine. And why that happens is due to the Fajans rule or the Fajans rule. You take it as Fajans, no? Fajans rule, you study. Fajans rule means if the metal is same, M is same, only fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, ionic character increases when F minus ion decreases. The size of the ion, that is, this is anion. If the size of the anion decreases, ionic character increases. That is Fajans rule says. You know that, right? Or we can say that the I minus, that is greater the size of the anion, covalent character increases. So, according to the Fajans rule, you can say the ionic character decreases from fluorine to iodine. Correct? Okay. Now, one more thing here to be taken into account is, if you have the same metal, for example, SbCl4 and SbCl2, that means these halide ions are having different oxidation state or higher oxidation state. Then, which is more ionic or which is more covalent for that matter? Is this SbCl4 is more covalent or SbCl2 is more covalent? For example, Sb4F, isn't it? In SbCl4, Sb is in 4F, and in SbCl2 it is in 2F. Now here also the same rule applies, that is the Fajans rule, which states that greater the charge on the cation, greater will be the covalent character. Okay, so cation, greater the charge on the cation, greater will be the covalent character. So SbCl4 is having a covalent, more covalent than SbCl2. Like that question asked, PbCl4 and PbCl2, which is more covalent? Okay, so, or which is less ionic? So these type of questions can be used. So due to the Fajans rule, you know that is greater the charge, greater is the covalent character. Okay. Now greater is the anion, then greater is the covalent character. Okay. So these are all keep in mind. This is all about the reaction with metals. Okay. And the last is reaction with halogen itself. The reaction with halogen itself. See, halogens can form 4 types of halogen. That means interhalogen compounds. That is XX2, XX3, XX5 and XX7. See, XX dash, XX2, then, sorry, XX2 is not there. It can be formed, but normally XX1, XX3, XX5 and XX7, in which the X dash is halogen with smaller size, keep in mind. Smaller size halogen, and X is a large size. So this is you have to keep in mind. That is, for example, see, if a chlorine and fluorine you are taking, you have to write ClF and not FCl. Why? Because X dash must be a smaller anion than this. So you have to write like this. Only this type of compounds can be formed. So always remember, in this interhalogen compounds, what do you call it as? Interhalogen compounds. Okay, you will study this. Interhalogen compounds, XX dash, XX dash 3, XX dash 5 and XX dash 7. The point to be noted is X dash must be a smaller size halogen, whereas X must be a large size halogen. Okay. So that's all about the reactions on this halogen, that is fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. So next we will see in the next session. Till then, thank you.